Good morning, afternoon, evening, and night, my friends. My name is Lucky Basil, or Tyler, coach of the Lunatones Rainbow Road, and I am in another season of the DBL. This is season 4, and it's looking pretty nice. My team is looking pretty nice. It's actually a low tier draft this time around, so a lot of legendaries are banned. A lot of like the OU Pokemon, most paradoxes are gone, and all that broken stuff. But yeah, this is my squad. We had to choose between like 8 to 10 to 8 to 12 Pokemon. I went with 10, and I chose to use a lot of my points on some like more lower tiers and Terra Pokemon because me as a person, I value a variety of types. As you'll see throughout this draft, there's a lot of types missing from other people's drafts, which is totally fine. It's just not my style of draft. But yeah, as you can see, this is my squad here. Round 1, I got Petulant actually, but I'll go through my team here. I got Galarian Moltres, Petulant, Palmot, Probopass, the Goat, Cyclizar, Starmie, Togekiss, Flareon, and Piloswine. Now, as you can see, Petulant and Galarian Moltres, those like top tier Pokemon, that synergy is just absolutely perfect. As you can see, like the immunities that they have, like Galarian Moltres is immune to ground, Petulant is and psychic as well. Moltres is weak to psychic, and they just cover each other so gosh darn well. Resistances as well. Galarian Moltres doesn't like those fairy types. Petulant handles that no problem. As you can see over here, what the defense is. Petulant super omega defensive, 160 base defense, and Moltres is 1 base 125 special defense, so they synergize super well together. There's going to be not a lot of matches, I assume, that I don't bring those to. And also, Terra Palmot. Terra Palmot is also very vital to this team. Palmot is so good. It has 3 amazing abilities. It can absorb status with Natural Cure, be immune to those electric moves that like Galarian Moltres and Starmie and Togekiss don't like to take. And Iron Fist, of course, there's multiple fisting moves like Thunder Punch, Ice Punch. I think it does get does it get Drain Punch? It's got to get Drain Punch, right? It does not. Just double checking. Yeah, it doesn't get Drain Punch. That is very shocking. But anyways, there's other fighting moves that I'm sure it'll get boosted on. And with Terra, it's also going to be really good. It's open preview Terra, so it's not like super broken. But both of its stabs, very offensive typing, good speed, and all that kind of stuff. And with Double Shock, gets rid of the electric typing, but with Terra, it just keeps it. So that's a base 120, basically like no drawback electric type move. It's a respectable 115 base attack, so it's not bad at taking down any like super thick walls. Mainly steel types that Galarian Moltres and Petulant don't really like. Anyway, sorry about that. I am back. So where was I? Oh yes, Palmot. It also gets Natural Cure, which is very good in the draft format. Because if I'm on my team is particularly very good against the opponent and it dies, I can always bring it back and do some more damage that way. I'm not sure how often I'll bring that because Palmot is very good at breaking those walls. especially those steel types that Mulch and Petra don't like. So I'm not sure how many times I'll bring Revival Blessing, but it's always on the table. And also has some good pivoting with Volt Switch. Just all around, a pretty underrated Mon for being a tier 3. And as my tier 4, I got Probopass, which I think is very, very funny. A steel type that is very much needed, resists a lot, and it also has that magnet pull for those steel types, so Petra and Moltres can pop off. It can run multiple stacks. It's going to probably be my main stealth rocker. Body press, Iron Defense body press is always on the table. It can go physically or especially. It's very good in both. It can even do some sweeping. It's got Meteor Beam, I believe. I believe it's got Meteor Beam. Let's check that out. Probopass, Meteor Beam. It does get Meteor Beam. Yeah, it gets Meteor Beam, Pain Split, all that kind of stuff. Another Pivot Mon. As you can see, like, all of these Pokemon here all get pivoting moves. Except for Go-Go, but a majority of them do, which I kind of wanted to focus on. I can eat up a lot of status moves with Natural Cure on Palmot and Starmie. I have Regenerator on Cyclizar, Parting Shot, Petra, so I want to be doing some switching, getting that momentum in, and coming in and hitting hard with a lot of my Pokemon. Yeah, Probopass is also Terrid as well. It can go like Terra Ghost to be immune to like the fighting moves or flying. It can go Terra Fire to like and Magnet Pull to catch a Steel type off guard and beat it 1v1. And yeah, I think it'll be pretty good. And next up is Go-Go, which I think is probably one of the best tier 5s there. Because there's a lot of like MFE Mons, like mid-evolutions, and like low-tier bug types. But I think Go-Go is actually not bad. It's got a very respectable attack and HP stat. It's slightly frail on the defensive side, but you'll see why in a second. It's not as bad as one might think. Because with Z moves, it's my... it can do like stuff like Z, Grassy Terrain, which gives it a +1 defense, sets up the Grassy Terrain, and with Grassy Pelt, it gets like an extra boost. It's like 1.5? Yeah, an extra 1.5 times the defense. So it can get surprisingly physically bulky, and it can be really annoying with like Horn Leech, Leech Seed, Milk Drink. It has so much recovery, synthesis, and it gets some pretty decent coverage too. And it has high horsepower, which pairs really nicely with that Grassy Terrain. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. Yeah, so it's pretty good. Can't complain about that. Pretty happy with my first 5 picks. Next up, I got Cyclizar, which is very nice. It is the speed tier I desperately needed because up at that point, team was very, very slow. And also had no way to get rid of hazards because Moltres doesn't get defog, unfortunately. But yeah, Cyclizar is very nice. Going to be the main rapid spinner most likely. Very fast, good at switching, pivot, valuable knock offer. Just overall a pretty decent Pokemon in this low tier format. I did get sniped. I'm not going to lie, I did want Flygon, but that got taken from me. So not too shabby on the Cyclizar as a backup. It pairs very nicely with Petulant, that normal and Ghost being immune to each other. It's very good. And yeah, it's not as... It's decently strong. It's like 95 attack, 85 special attack, which isn't terrible. It's not too terrible. It's pretty good with Assault Vest. Take some hits. Again, a lot of switching, rapid spin, very good. It's actually another Mon that can take status moves, so it can't get really poisoned or burned if I have Shed Skin, along with Starmie and Palmot, so there's that. And then I got another Rapid Spinner in Starmie, which I think I'm going to really enjoy more than I originally thought, because it gets so many moves for no reason. It gets Flip Turn, so much coverage in Ice Beam, it gets Meteor Beam too, it can Reflect type, it can be really annoying with Thunder Wave and Trick. There's just a lot of different ways you can use a Starmie. It can go offensive, it can go even defensive at times, and pivot around, which is really surprising. Got that analytic to catch switches of their own, and I think it's gonna be quite vital to the team. It's another Rapid Spinners, just in case Cyclizar needs another move, or there's nothing really else on Starmie, and get that speed up and really hit hard. So there shall be no switch-ins. Next up is Togekiss. There was a couple fairy types I was looking at that I wasn't really sure. I was looking at Sylveon and Togekiss mainly, but I think having at least one Devalgar is nice. Just in case they have a Ghost type that I can't Rapid Spin on for free, I can use Togekiss to defog them away, or I can go nice and offensive with some like nasty fought air slashes, dazzling gleams, and all that kind of stuff. I'm not gonna lie. 1 week I really want to use Mirror Herb Swagger with Hustle Extreme Speed, just because it's really funny. This isn't like a super high stakes league, and I want to try my best, obviously, but I think there's a lot of fun things that I can do with Togekiss. And doubling up on the flying type is not as bad, because my team is pretty darn weak to ground. Although Probopass and Palmat can Terra, so I think it should work out in my favor there. And next up is Flareon, which I needed like a very physically offensive Pokemon that could just break teams. With that Guts, it can do so much damage with Flare Blitzes. Its that special attack is actually not horrible, so Calm Mindsets are still on the table, because it has a pretty good special defense stat as well. So Flareon is there to mainly like break through teams, just in case I need it. Flash Fire, obviously pretty nice, even though I'm not like really weak to it fire at all, other than the Go-Goat. But I can see Go-Goat coming a lot, so there's definitely a lot of synergy there. I've got a lot of immunities to like fire. I don't think I have a water immunity, but I have grass. Grass immunity, electric immunity, a lot of immunities, so that's good. Yeah, not too much to say about Flareon, just hits very, very hard. Not the fastest, but it does got like things like Trailblaze, which is pretty good. And then we got Piloswine, which I think is also very underrated in this format. It's very, very, very tanky with the Eviolite on. It's not like it needs it too, because it's already pretty bulky enough that it doesn't need it. Because base 100 HP and 80 defense is nothing to laugh at. With that thick stat, it's only got a couple weaknesses in water, grass, and fighting, I believe. Yeah, so Piloswine's going to be very good, actually. It's another great stealth rocker. And I'm pretty sure I like this team a lot. And then when free agent comes up, I might look at some other options, but off the just looking at it, I'm pretty satisfied with it. I think with my Terramons, Zmon, the synergy between Moltres and Petrant, with the support of a lot of my other Mons, I think it put in a lot of work. I got so much ways to pivot around, and just get the momentum into my favor. It's going to be very, very nice. Yeah, so that is my team of the Lunatone Rainbow Road. That is my team, and I'm very happy with it. Now I'm going to go over through the other teams. I don't have a script or anything, just kind of looking at it at first glance. And I like And yeah, we'll give it a shot. So here we have Noah. This is his team, which I think it's pretty good. It's decent. Oh, what is that? I think it's pretty decent. Tyranitar, obviously very strong. Buzzwole, very, very good. I was thinking about drafting Inteleon too. I think it's also very good. Rotom Frost, Alolan Golem, Haxorus, Mega Glalie, Chandelure, and Toxtricity. Now, the first thing I noticed about this team is the 3 electric types, which isn't a bad thing. Electric types are pretty strong, but none of them are really particularly fast, which fast electric types, it's a pretty good, just a standard thing to have. I have my Palmont, which is pretty fast, at least above the base 100 is what I'd go for. But yeah, there's nothing like the weaknesses are there. There's not a lot of types. I don't see a fairy type. I don't see a grass type to handle those like ground types. So I see that. There's just a lot of weaknesses. Like I don't see any. There's no dragon resist. There's no steel type either, which is insane. But this is such an offensive team that weaknesses might not matter. The overwhelming like strength, power, and just the mons that break through teams can be really, really crazy. Chandelure breaks through teams. It is such a high special attack stat. Toxtricity can also break through teams with that punk rock ability. Sniper and Inteleon just breaks through defenses. Buzzwole is so strong, just takes it through anything. Can't sleep on Alolan Golem, Haxorus, and Mega Glalie. That just they just break through teams. Speed tiers, I'm looking at the speed tiers. It's not horrible. It could be a little better. I like to, me personally, I like to have at least 3 mons above a base 100. But that's just me. Inteleon is still really fast. There's a big gap between Inteleon and Glalie. And I don't think there's any Tailwinders. Oops. I don't think there's any Tailwinders either. Let me see here. Let's do Tailwind. Yeah, there's not really any speed control because there's no sticky webs user. I think with a little sticky webs, this team would be super scary to deal with. But it's weird. There's a lot of types missing, like ground types. A ground type is missing. Flying type is missing. Steel and fairy is the big ones, I think, that most teams need. But we will see if it matters or not, because Noah could just overwhelm you and just kill you before you kill it. Next up is Amin. Amin's team is actually not too bad. Again, I'm seeing no fairy type, no electric type, no dark type, no fighting type, which I think is pretty big. Very specially attack heavy, which is pretty good. Special attackers are better than attackers in most situations. For very bulky team, and speed tiers, again, kind of with Noah, it could be a little better. I will say that. Having that Pidgeot, the only thing above a base 100, is pretty good. It's still pretty strong, and Mega Pidgeot is still great. But having the only Stealth Rocker be Excadrill is a little bit of a hindrance. I think one more could be a little bit better. I think at least 2 is necessary just to put off some pressure, because offensive Excadrill may not be able to come. There is no sand to go with the Excadrill, so it would have to be manual. I'm also seeing 3 grass types, which is really interesting. There's not really a lot to take on flying moves. and fire moves and all that stuff, which I'm noticing. And look at that dark. That dark weakness is insane. Having 4 mons weak to dark with 0 resistances, that's a little bit questionable in my eyes. Also, Ndidi is on this team, but there's no like paradox, or like no like actual size spammers other than Hisuian Bravery, but it might be a little too slow. Yeah, I can see Hisuian Bravery work. There's also a semi like Sun team maybe with Lorantis and Scovillain, because Lorantis gets Solar Blade. But that's kind of really it. It's kind of, this one feels kind of all over the place. There's a lot of duplicate typings with no typings. But yeah, I can see it. I can see it being pulled off. It's got a nice little variety here. Yeah, and having, I feel like Excadrill's like, and maybe Lorantis are like the only ones that can like do some like really good physical damage, you know. So I think that Excadrill is gonna have too much weight on his shoulders. That's what I'm thinking. Next up we have Ethan's team, which is very, 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 very scary. Rain teams are always gonna be a pain to deal with. This one, no exception. There's only 8 mons here, so it's gonna be easy to like know what's coming. But just because you know what's coming doesn't mean you can't stop it. Having that rain, like Iron Crown, Pelipper, Kingdra, Whimsicott, and Seismitoad are gonna come like pretty like almost every week. It's just so good. There's a lot of synergy going on with Swift Swims. And there's also, Iron Crown is getting supported a lot by that Pelipper in the right, by that Pincurchin to get that Quark Drive off. And it's going to be very scary to deal with. Yeah, Terra, Seismitoad, and Kingdra is going to put in so much goddamn work. It's going to be really hard to stop. The only thing I can see that like beats this team is like Freeze Dry. And that's only if you have like a very specific mon to deal with it. And then you also have to worry about the low kicks in the back, who has the first impression blast ready on standby. It's gonna go absolutely crazy. It doesn't even need Terra, which is the best part. And then Whimsicott can also, I think Whimsicott also sets up the let me see, Whimsicott. It doesn't get Rain Dance, unfortunately, which I think would have been really nice to have just another good rain setter. Jolteon, I think, also gets Rain Dance too, so it has some other options, just so Pelipper doesn't have to carry the rain on its feathery back. Unfortunately, I think hazards are probably not going to be coming as often. Just like, unless Pincurchin comes, which with this team, it's going to be pretty difficult to bring on, considering the strength of the other ones. And having Seismitoad rely on that Stealth Rocks, it's going to be hard to get hazards up. But that's not too bad. Yeah, this is a very offensive, it's like, on paper, classic rain. It's going to be very scary to deal with. There are some missing typings. Like, Toxic Spikes are going to be really, really good into this team, I can see. Because only Pelipper is immune to it and can defog it away. So once Pelipper is gone, it's going to be a little easier to take around the rest of the team. And you know Pelipper's coming, because, like, look at it. Look at that synergy. But yeah, I'm a pretty decent fan of this team. Even though I like to have at least a minimum 10 mons with some more variety typings, I don't think this is a bad draft at all. And next up, we got Liam. Liam's team is probably one of the better ones in here. That Keldeo, Hisuian Zoroark, Bronzong, Roselia, Sharpedo, Screamtail, Noivern, Stunfisk, and Rotom. I really like that synergy within Keldeo and Zoroark right off the bat. Because like if you lead a Keldeo and you don't know if that Keldeo is actually Hisuian Zoroark, and you click a Dark move on it, predicting the Zoroark, it's going to get that Justified boost. Although, I think my one caveat with that is I think Keldeo is probably not the best Justified user because its special attack is so much higher than its attack. I think like a Terrakion would have worked a little bit better in that sense. But Keldeo is still very, very strong, and Hisuian Zoroark, you still can't sleep on that thing. Then there's Bronzong, which is a fantastic Steel type, obviously. Has some great immunities. I can also see, like, I see a semi-rain team here, weirdly enough. I can see, like, Keldeo, Bronzong, Sharpedo, even Noivern, like, taking advantage of it for some Hurricane spam. Which I think could work out really well. Has some pretty good support Pokemon in Bronzong, Roselia, and Screamtail. Is very good. Setting up screens for the offensive, very fast Pokemon. The speed tiers are probably one of the best. I'm a really big fan of these speed tiers, pretty decently spread out. And Sharpedo is probably one of the better tier 5s out there as well. It's very strong. With Z moves, it can punch through some teams. Really can't sleep on it. And a big fan of all the Stealth Rockers too. Very good Stealth Rockers. Although the Defoggers are not the greatest, Noivern is a pretty decent Defogger, but sometimes that 4 moves is very, very nice. Yeah, Stunfisk is an interesting one. It's a Pokemon. Yeah, it's a Pokemon. Having Stunfisk and Rotom is a little interesting. I guess they don't share really any weaknesses. But I don't know. I think there might be better ground types and all that. And I'm also looking at the stat spreads. Where are the physical attackers? It's kind of like just Sharpedo, right? Sharpedo's like the only physical attacker. Like the main one, you know? Like, Keldeo can go physical, Zork can go physical, but their special attack is just so much higher. So I think that Sharpedo is going to have to come a lot, or else it's kind of like Calm Mind users, especially defensive Pokemon, can handle this team pretty nicely. Yeah, a lot of status users as well, I'm noticing. Some pretty good Will-O-Whispers and Thunder Wavers. Really hinder a team. That Keldeo with Terra and Noivern with Terra are going to have to do some hard carrying. Because the other Pokemon don't do a lot of damage. Like, you don't go for Stunfisk to like break teams, you know? Although with that static, it can be pretty annoying. Like I said, the status users are going to be a little annoying to deal with. Yeah, it's overall not a bad draft. I'm a decently big fan. I think Roselia is pretty underrated as well. With a Violet, that can be pretty bulky. Being annoying with like leaf seeds and spikes and all that stuff. So yeah, next up is Jacob. Jacob's team is very interesting. The first thing I notice is the 3 steel types right off the bat. There's yeah, that fire weakness is very interesting. 2 4 times weak to fire, 2 regular weak to fire, and then 2 water types that are not the bulkiest thing in the world. Especially, I think Marini is such a weird pick. I feel like it doesn't really do much. Its stats are just really, really not there. Even with a Violet, it's only base 50 HP, 62 defense. It's it'll be fine. It's a good spikes absorber and spikes toxic spikes user, but it's not like it's not that good, you know. But I think the Terra for Alligator and Zorak are going to be a pretty good, or Z-Zorak are going to be a pretty good combo. Lots of good physical users. Scizor and Ferrothorn, obviously both 4x Weak to Fire. Yeah, I don't know. This team, I don't know how it's going to be a lot of fire types. Like Electros and Zapdos. Like they and for Alligator, I don't think they can put up those numbers to deal with the offense. There's a lot of missing typings. There's no dragon types, no ground types, no fire types either, no ghost type, no fighting type, which is pretty interesting. Yeah, there's a couple typings missing that I think could really used to bring this team all together. But there's definitely a lot of scary threats that you still can't sleep on. Zapdos is very annoying. Scizor is very annoying to deal with. Zorak I think works pretty well on this team. Beartick is nice. I wish it kind of had a little more support to go with it, because on its own it's not too great. It can break through teams, but it's a little slow. But yeah, I can see this working out a little. Hazards and hazard control is good. A lot of pivot users, which is very nice. But yeah, I think with a couple like other mons could change. Like I think Scizor could change with this team specifically. Marini I'm not a big fan of, and Beartick I'm not a huge fan of. Electros works just fine. That can work pretty well on any team. But yeah, it's in my opinion it's pretty mid. It can work if used well, but I think there's some holes that are quite obvious that can be punched through. Next up is Nate, which is probably in my top 3, I'd say, or 5 favorite drafts. I think this team is very good. Right off the bat, I see that Ogerpon Moltres Quagsire combo. It's a great Fire Water Grass core. Cryogonal, Behem, Manaphy, Corviknight, Magneton, and Blissey in the back. Corviknight, Blissey, such a hard like combo to get through. Very physically bulky Corviknight with a especially defensive Blissey. It's going to be pretty difficult to get through, and then with that Magneton as well. Dealing with most steel types, very good. There's a couple missing types missing. I'm noticing no fairy type, no dark or dragon, no poison or fighting, which are pretty necessary for a team. I think it works pretty well. I'm noticing like the ways to deal with electric types are not super great. Quasar is well, no, it could be worse. Magneton is there. Quasar is there, I guess. Ogerpon can take some electric moves, but a lot of like the very scary threats don't like electric moves all that much. Speed tiers are pretty fine. Defoggers, Corviknight is one of the best around, but Moltres and Cryogonal might need some boots on there. Hazard control's good. I'm pretty figured. Behem is probably one of my favorites. Like maybe top 25 favorite Pokemon of all time. Behem, very strong. The analytic is very good. Amazing Trick Room setter, I believe. This thing it has a very good balance between offense and defense. I think it's going to be very nice. Yeah, can't really complain about Nate's team. Next up is Austin, which has a pretty threatening team, to say the least. I don't think that's Terra Ninetales, actually. That's Terra Bascu Legion, which is even scarier. Now, this team is really weird, because I feel like it wants to be a rain team, but with Snow, which Alolan Hyls, don't get me wrong, is very, very strong. But if Arctovish and Basculegion had that like automatic rain, it would be so much more threatening. Hisuian, Goodra, phenomenal Pokemon. Probably one of the best in this low tier draft. Not gonna lie. It's gonna be very good. Not too much to say. There's only 8 Pokemon here. Like I said, I value more, like at least minimum 10, with some good type diversities. There's not a lot of missing types. There's still a bit of a missing types, like no grass, fighting poison ground, flying are pretty necessary. I think in most teams. Rotom Heat is going to be a pretty, has to come I think every time, just like looking at the team. Rotom's defensive capabilities and Levitate is going to be massive. Having Mesfit being the only rocker and Heatran being the only defogger is not the greatest. I think there can be only, hazard control is not going to be in Austin's favor, which isn't too terrible if he's not that kind of player. Mega Absol with that Magic Bounce can bounce back rocks, but obviously I had to predict that, and if you get that prediction wrong, Mega Absol kind of just dies because it's so frail. But yeah, there's a couple duplicate typings here, like Electric, Water, and Ice, which are fine. I just think that the diversity isn't quite there. And it's on paper, it doesn't look as scary, other than Goodra and Basculegion. That's there. It can be pulled off, but it has to be done, like, I think it has to be played pretty correctly. Next is J-Jack's team, or Jackson. There's 2 Jacksons in this league. This team is not too bad. Pretty offensive. I'm a big fan of that Galantula. Setting up that Salamence, Blaziken, Mimikyu, and Mega Pinsir just to hit hard. The one thing I'm noticing, there's not a lot of big special attackers. Because who has the highest special attack? Yeah, that's technically Blaziken, but Blaziken wants to run physical most times than not. The next one is Rotom with 105. So I think breaking those special mons is gonna be quite hard. On the physical side, it's looking great. Terra Salamence, no slouch, can eat through teams. And a pretty good defensive core. Servine, Swampert, and Blaziken with a Milanola, I think, are going to be really good. Although no steel type is a little interesting. Same with like a poison type. This team doesn't seem to want to take toxic spikes very well. There's 3 flying types, but those 3 flying types share a lot of the weaknesses. There's quite a few duplicate typings I would like to see distributed into other ones. Again, that's just me. I like my diverse typings to try to counter any team imaginable. Stealth Rocker's pretty good. Defoggers are pretty good as well. Although you might need to run some boots. I can't see Rotom Fan coming all that often, just because Galvantula just feels like the better pick for an electric type, and then the flying type is covered by Pinsir and Salamence, so I don't know how often Rotom Fan is going to come, and that web's just so valuable, especially on this kind of team, which I think it can work out pretty well. And also the special defense is not looking too great. Again, Rotom is that only one that can take special moves, really. Mimikyu as well, I guess. But they're known for their like special defense. you know. So we'll see how that plays out. It could go either kind of way. This team, it's this weird middle ground of like it's everything's okay, but it's not like at that peak, right? So next up, we got Dimitri, which I'm a pretty big fan of this actually. There's a lot of cool Pokemon here. Alakazam, Grimmsnarl, Arcanine, Delmise, Clamperl, Chansey, Magnezone, Articuno, Sceptile, and Slowking. The first thing I notice is this Clamperl. I don't know what this thing does. It has some pretty decent defenses, I guess. 35 HP base HP is not the greatest. I'm not sure how that thing is gonna do at all. I don't even know. Like, let me take a look. Let me take a Clamperl. It can't get crit, which is something. I don't know. What does it do? It can iron defense. It can get Scalds. It's not gonna set up any shell smashes. It gets toxic. It can refresh. It doesn't get any recovery, does it? I'm not seeing any recovery here, other than like Aqua Ring. I might Whirlpool you to death, but I don't see it doing too much. Especially because that Slowking is there. With the power of Slowking, Sceptile, and Arcanine, it's going to be a really, really strong pairing. There's a lot of good support from like Grimmsnarl, Chansey, Articuno. Can do a lot of big things. Alakazam, obviously very strong. I think overall this is a strong team. There's a lot of options to go with. There's no Dragon type, no Ground type, no Poison type, no Fighting type, but that's okay. That's okay. The one thing I'm noticing is speed. This team is a little on the slower side. Grimmsnarl can help with that with some T-Waves. But having both Alakazam and Sceptile being the same speed, it's still good. There's not a lot of Pokemon that will outspeed it. But the variety is just not as good. Also, this team isn't super physically bulky. I think Grimmsnarl is going to have to come more often than not, because I think it's the support for this team is very good. It's going to be very hard to break through Chansey. That's something you're always going to have to worry about. Yeah, I also really like Delmise. Delmise is one of the best Rapid Spinners out there. Ghost types with Rapid Spin are really cool. There's no hazards other than that Chansey, so folks, bring your fighting types, because I think Chansey is going to have to come pretty much every week. It's also just a good Pokemon. I can't complain about a Chansey. I like the Terra types a lot, the Terra Captains. Magnezone as a Terra Captain, very strong, can get that Terra Fire to get that fighting, to get the other Steel types out of the field. Or I'd rather keep them in the field and kill them so they're no longer in the field. And Articuno and Sceptile, very good as well. Unburden with Terra is going to be very scary to deal with. Like Terra Dragon is going to be very nice. There's also not a lot of pivoting going along. I'd see just Articuno and Magnezone, which is fine. They both do their job, and I guess Grimmsnarl is part of the shot too. Yeah, I think this team can do very well. It's got stats wise, it goes across the board. There's some very strong Pokemon, very defensive Pokemon, and yeah, I'm a pretty decent fan of it. All right, next up is Jasper. Jasper's team is very good. Very strong. That Mega Bennett Bisharp combo, very strong. The Sucker Punch duo is going to be hard to deal with. And then you also don't want to like hit physical moves at all, because that Belly Bolt and Colossal have Static and Flame Body respectively. so it's going to be hard to hit on the physical side. Although the special defense is not looking super fantastic compared to the physical side. Primarina can eat hits. It can go specially defensive, but Primarina likes to go offense a lot as well. I had it last season and put in a lot of work. And then Belly Bolt can take some special hits too, which is pretty good actually. In terms of typings, no dragon types, no ground types, no poison types, which I'm noticing is a theme, which is kind of weird. I think most teams gravitate towards that dragon type. Oh, I just noticed the speed tier. Oh boy, that speed tier is looking abysmal. There's definitely ways to get around that terrible speed. Glissoplata's first impression. Sucker Punch on Mega Banette Bisharp. So got some really good priority on this team. And his Suyin Lilligant is very difficult to deal with once he gets set up as well. I'm noticing Colossal's the only rapid spinner, so I might have to run heavy duty boots with rapid spin more times than not. But that's not too terrible. Colossal is still a good Pokemon. I also had that last season, and it put in a lot of work as well. I like the Z captains, Bisharp, Bellybolt, and Colossal. Going to be pretty strong. Floragato is okay. I don't think it's a terrible Pokemon, but like, Suyin Lilligant is like right there. It's faster, stronger, better offensive typing than the Floragato. But that's not necessarily like... I think Floragato could come, but I think Suyin Lilligant is just better in my opinion. But yeah, I think this team can be very scary if pulled off correctly. But yeah, it's pretty good. Jasper, not too bad, not too bad. Now on to Cass. This is also probably one of my favorites out there. There's a lot of like weird like lower tiered NFE Pokemon, like Morgrem, Murkrow, and Combuskin, but they can all be very difficult to deal with. Morgrem, Justly Grimmsnarl, very bulky, especially with that those dual screens and a Violate. I think it's a very good support Pokemon. There are a lot of like very bulky Pokemon. Milotic, Bastiodon, and Gastrodon. Wow, that's difficult to say. Can be very difficult to break through. Same with that Uxie as well. I really like Gengar and Mienshou's synergy together. I think that offensive pairing is fantastic. And with the support of like Morgan, Murkrow, this prankster Pokemon, I think, and with all the very good Stealth Rocks user, I think it goes very well. Having Gastrodon and Milotic on the same team is a little interesting, having like two bulky water types. I know they serve a little bit different purposes, but their role, I guess, is still the same. Also, Combuskin is like, it's okay. It's not as strong as you would like it to be, and it might need an extra, instead of like one speed boost, it might need like 2 speed boosts in order for it to do anything good. But yeah, this team seems very annoying to deal with. Gengar being the Terra Captain is very strong as well. Mega Sceptile being very fast. I think speed tiers are pretty damn good, especially different ways to like paralyze with Thunder Wave. With some 3 very good Thunder Wave users. So yeah, I'm a pretty big fan of this team actually. There's no electric type. That's the only one typing that I'm like, you don't have. So that's so I'd say pretty damn good. I'm a big fan of this team. Next to Jackson's. Jackson's team is also very scary. Just looking at it, it's so offensive. It's not even funny. like Weavile, Lucario, Vincentivity, Bramblegrass, Mega Manectric, Flygon. It's so offensive. It's crazy. Both on the physical and special attack side. Some mons can run both. Like Flygon, Lucario, Vincentivity, it can go both sides. So you like really have to guess. Having Flygon only Stealth Rocker is not as great. It just puts too much pressure on Flygon to bring rocks. Rocks is very valuable. Although I think it has removal is fine in both Bramblegrass and Flygon. I'm noticing. What else am I noticing here? Yeah, just on the defense side, it's not fantastic. Speed tiers are good, are very, very good. What the hell, actually? Actually, it's not as good as I thought, because most of them are around that like 90 to 100 range. So anything slower would can run like Adamant or Modest, that you can't outspeed those 90 speeds. So that's just something I'm noticing, and it's not as physically bulky as I'd like. Mega Manectric does help with that with Intimidate. Mega Mortar has Flame Body, so it's not as bad as I thought actually from initially. And Slowbro, obviously, very, very strong. I think Slowbro has to come on every single team. I think it's a fantastic pivot with Teleport. And I think it'll be very good switching in to most of Jackson's team. And obviously Lucario, Z Captain, Flygon, Terra Captain, and Flygon is the Z Captain. Two very, very strong options, which you might just die instantly. So yeah, that is Jackson's team. Very big fan of it. Next is Tom's team, which I'm also a very big fan of. Megataria, one of my favorite Pokemon of all time, paired with Skarmory, is fantastic. The synergy between those two are very, very good. And then you also have to deal with a Terra, a Superior, and a Volcanion. It's just like, how in, like, those 4 Pokemon alone, like, make up this team, and it's going to be very, very difficult to break those 4 Pokemon in particular. And then you also have a fast electric type, a pretty strong fighting type, one of the best Stealth Rocker and Rapid Spinners in Donphan, and then a Silvally that can be any type. And Haunter's not bad either. Haunter can put in a lot of work. It doesn't even need a Violite to be strong. It still does a lot of damage. That's 115 special attack and 95 speed. Speed is a little bit lower. Nothing is above a base 115, but that's okay. But yeah, the teams, like, the typing synergy is very, very good. No dark type, which is fine. The team isn't like not even like weak to dark, really. It's really only Haunter. Yeah, it's overall very rounded team. Some good knockoff users, a lot of taunt users. Hazard removal is fantastic. Like half his team has hazard removal. Good pivots. Yeah, just overall a very solid team. Yeah, I'm just looking at that combination of Superior, Volcanion, Skarmory, and Megalotaria. That'd be very difficult to deal with. The only thing is, like, maybe like a very strong special attacker can break this team, but not a lot of Pokemon in this league are going to be able to do that. So good stuff on Tom. Next up is Morgan. Morgan's team is also one of my favorites. The first thing I noticed is 2 Sticky Webs user in Slurpuff and Araquanid, which is very interesting. I can't tell if that's a good interesting or a bad interesting yet. We will see. But I think it does pretty well. I think the combination of Lycanroc, Dusk, Delphox, and Berserker taking advantage of those webs is going to be very, very huge. That Berserker is going to do so much damage with, like, Terra, Steely Spirit webs. Oh, it's gonna be so good. Yeah, it's very good. Stealth Rockers are on both offensive Pokemon, so I'm not sure how that's gonna go out. But the combination of like Rotom-Wash, Goodra, Arachnid Gourgeist, Type Null, Mandibuzz, it's going to be very hard to break those teams. A lot of them have like really high special defense or like high physical defense. So we will see how that plays out and how people are going to actually break that team. No ground type, which is fine. Just means electric type moves are going to come in. Goodra and Gourgeist can take them pretty well, so it's not as bad. Slurpuff and Berserker being Terra Captains, phenomenal. Do not sleep on Slurpuff or you will get belly drum swept. It's going to happen. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this. There's a lot of different ways this team can be used. There's web user, a lot of Pokemons. Type diversity is pretty good. Although it does seem quite weak to toxic spikes, because there is like Goodra, Arachnid, Gourgeist, Type Null. They just don't really want to take it. That's probably one of the few weaknesses I really see, and maybe a better rock resist. Yeah, that's all. I think I'm a pretty big fan. And last but not least, we have Keith, which has a very, very scary team. Metagross, Hydreigon, Florges, Kingler, Emolga, Talonflame, Nidoking, and Empoleon. Oops, I don't know why that is down there. I will delete that. Yes. Right off the bat, a very, very, very strong Fairy Dragon Steel Core. Those three are going to do so much work together. I think they come pretty much every week. I don't see why not. Even have that Empoleon in the back for that extra option of Stealth Rocks. A lot of good Stealth Rockers. A lot of very strong Pokemon. Nidoking breaks through teams. Kingler breaks through teams. Hydreigon breaks through teams. I think it's going to be very good with Florges and Emolga support. Speed tiers are not too bad. They're looking pretty nice, actually. Typings are looking okay. No fighting type, no grass type, no ghost type are probably some of the bigger ones I'd say are probably necessary. But that green bar at the bottom there's no like real weaknesses. So it's looking pretty good. Not too much to say. Just a solid team. A lot of good defoggers, so that's good. Yeah, not too bad from Keith. And that is all of the teams of the DBL Season 4 Low Tier Draft League. Yeah, I'm pretty happy. I think I'm hoping to do very well. I think my team is considered one of the better ones. I don't want to like gas myself up, but just what I value in a team is a lot of variety. There's many options, not a lot of one-trick ponies kind of thing. But yeah, I'm excited to do as well as I can. I'm very excited to see how the season goes. Last 2 seasons, I got to playoffs. I won Season 2, got to semis in Season 3, so I will try my best to get playoffs in this. Yeah, my name has been Tyler. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.